Good morning, grade 2. How are you today? Today we start with the lesson is about families from many places. But first start with what is the meaning of this title, Families from Many Places. It means that we will learn about different people from different countries or different cultures in this lesson. Let's start with the first word in our lesson today, and it's called custom. What is the meaning of custom? Custom means something that people do at certain time. There's something that we are doing at certain time, like when we are eating ice cream in summer and we drink hot drinks in winter. So this is called custom. When you are wearing light clothes in summer and you are wearing heavy clothes in winter, this is custom because you do it at certain time of the year, right? Like when you are coloring eggs in the Easter. So this is part of custom. So again, custom is something that people do at certain time. Okay? Custom is something that people do at certain time. Custom, something that people do at certain time. For example, eating ice cream in summer and drink hot drinks in winter. One more time, custom. Custom, it's something that people do at certain time. The next word that we will learn about in this lesson is called culture. What is the meaning of culture? Culture is the way of life of a group of people. Culture, way of life. Culture, way of life. For example, of course, you know Darwin, right? Darwin is from India. And if I choose Anas from Egypt, okay, this is the same example that we have mentioned in the class. Darwin's culture, which is the Indian culture, is different from your culture, was different from Anas' culture, because Darwin is an Indian and Anas is an Egyptian. Okay, so both of them have different cultures. So what is the meaning of culture? Culture, way of life. Culture, way of life. The way of life in India is different from the way of life in Egypt, is different from the way of life in America. So each country has different culture from the other country. So again, culture, way of life. Culture, way of life. What can we find under culture? We have food, music, religion, and language. Like the Indian food is different from the Egyptian food. The music or the Indian music is different from the music or the Egyptian music. The religion, we have different religions, and the same for language. Like here we are speaking Arabic in India, they are speaking Indian in America, they are speaking English. Okay, so we have different cultures. Again, culture, way of life. Culture, way of life. And custom, it's something that people do at a certain time. Like for example, when we are eating ice cream in summer and we drink hot drinks in winter. And we spoke about culture. We said culture is the way of life of a group of people. Like for example, the Indian culture is different from the Egyptian culture. What do we have under culture? We have food, music, religion, and language. Food, music, religion, and language. Here is telling you that the USA has many different cultures, or like America is very big. It has people from different from different countries, and of course with different cultures. Okay, so what do we call the people who are leaving their places and they travel to live in another place? For example, Darwin. Darwin is an Indian, okay? So Darwin is an immigrant because he left India and he came or he traveled to live in another country, which is Egypt. I'd like to welcome Darwin and all the immigrants who are coming from different countries to live in our country. We call them immigrants. Repeat after me, immigrants. Immigrants. What's the meaning of immigrants? They are the people who move from one country to live in another country. Okay, again, immigrants, they are the people who move from one country to live in another country. For example, if you are traveling to live in America, to live in Saudi Arabia, you are an immigrant because you left your country and you travel to live in another country for work, for education, for any reason that you like. So we are calling the people who are moving from one country to live in another country immigrants. Again, immigrants, they are people who move from one country to live in another country. Immigrants, they are the people who move from one country to live in another country. The last word that we will speak about today is called ancestor. Who is the meaning, or what is the meaning of ancestor? Ancestor means someone in your family that lived before you were born. Anyone who lived before you were born, he is called or she is called an ancestor. Ancestor means someone in your family that lived before you were born. Okay, he lived or she lived and died before you were born. So we are calling them ancestor. Ancestor means someone in your family that lived before you were born, not after you were born. Take care, because I can get this part as a true or false question. I can ask you someone in your family that lived after you were born. Can we call him ancestor? Of course, false, because someone in your family that lived before you were born, not after you were born, they are your ancestor. Okay, let's revise what we have spoken about today. We spoke about custom, and we said custom is something that people do at certain time, like eating ice cream in summer and drink hot drinks in winter. Something that people do at certain time, okay? Like when we are coloring eggs, we are coloring eggs in Easter, and when we are fasting in Ramadan. Can we fast nowadays? Of course, but we usually fast, we always fast Ramadan in Ramadan itself. I cannot say that I will fast nowadays because Ramadan is here, of course not. Okay, so custom is something that people do at certain time. Culture, way of life. Culture, way of life. What do we have in culture? We have food, music, religion, and language. Remember when I told you the difference between Darwin and Anas? Darwin is coming from the Indian culture and Anas is coming from the Egyptian culture. We have different foods, music, religion, and language. We spoke about immigrants. Who are the immigrants? They are the people who move from one country to live in another country. Okay, like if you left Egypt and you travel to live in America, so you will be called an immigrant. And of course, you have many relatives who left Egypt and they traveled to live in another country. They are called immigrants. Who are the immigrants? People who move from one country to live in another country. People who move from one country to live in another country. The last word that we spoke about, ancestors. Who are the ancestors? They are the people, someone in your family who lived before you were born. Someone in your family who lived before you were born. They are called ancestors. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your winter break and see you later, inshallah. Bye, grade 2.